Welcome to Target Market Insights, the multifamily and marketing podcast. Each week, John Kasman interviews multifamily and marketing experts to teach you how to find the best places to invest, attract investors, and grow your portfolio. You are listening to Target Market Insights with your host, John Kasman.
Welcome to Target Market Insights, the multifamily and marketing show. I'm your host, John Kasman, and I want to thank you for joining us for another great episode. Now, if you're enjoying this show, do me one quick favor and leave us that 5-star rating and review. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. Now, today we're going to be talking to the Downing brothers. The Downing brothers, Anthony and Anton, both decided to give back to the community by becoming firefighters for Chicago and Dalton, Illinois, where they have served for over a decade. In their work as firefighters, the twins witnessed the need for community development and began to take action through real estate investing. They started off with purchasing and renovating a single-family home, which led to apartment buildings in their first flip by 2013. Now, they have gone on to do a lot more. We're going to talk to them about all of those things. Let's welcome to the show, the Downing brothers.
What's going on, brother?
Hey. Hey, it's good to have you on there. Listen, you guys have an incredible story. I certainly can't do it justice reading your bio, but why don't you take a couple of minutes and give us a little bit more context on your background?
Okay, so we're born and raised on the south side of Chicago, but we also spent a lot of time every year going to the Bahamas, where our mother was born and raised, and we actually have property, and we're developing on that property.
Yeah, we have duplexes down there.
Yeah, so we're back and forth between, except for COVID. COVID has prevented us from getting down there in 2020. But the majority of our real estate journey has been right on the south side, from condos to single family homes to multi-units, 3 flats
or 3 families, depending on what part of the country you're listening in.
That's right. And along the way, as we started to go beyond, because in the beginning, like a lot of people, we just wanted to have our own homes. And then because we had, because of our schedules with the fire department, 24 on, 48 off, we were like, what are we going to do with all this time on our hands? And we were like, let's start working together to develop some properties. Let's do a flip. Let's see how it works out. And you got to try one time to find out. Yeah. And it wasn't as scary. I mean, everything is scary when you do something for the first time. So for everybody listening, do it scared. Do it scared. Now, if you can get a partner, do it with a partner, so you can then, lessen the financial impact if things take longer or become more expensive.
It gives you an opportunity to continue doing project behind project. To me, it's not about hitting home runs and making $100,000 on each individual flip. But let's say you made $20,000 or $25,000 5, 6, 7 times in a year. That's still getting you to the type of money that you want.
Yeah. I also think it's that we all need to be careful of comparing our personal experience, especially when we first start, to people who are seasoned and have systems and teams in place. Like, you're successful if you did one flip and you made positive on it, even if you only made $1,000. You made it through that and made a positive, and then, you got on to your next project, and you took all those lessons and put it in your toolbox so that you can do better the next time. It's not a failure if you don't make 25 grand or 50 grand or whatever you thought you were going to make on a deal.
All right.
I would say to people, did you learn anything? Because the lessons are the most important things. The money will come if you're actually learning from your perceived failures.
Yeah, I think that's real powerful, right? Just understanding the lesson, focusing on the lesson. Don't focus so much on how much money you can make on an individual deal. Focus on building a process, systems, getting to the point where you can replicate that success. Because if you can do that, then you can scale. And ultimately, you will get to the point where you can make a lot more money on a single deal. But you need to start and just get started. And you said it great, Anthony. Just if you're scared, well, everyone's scared the first time you do something that, is somewhat risky, and real estate investing does have risk with it. So if you are flipping a house, there's going to be some risk. You should have a sense of trepidation. Do it anyway. do it scared, do it anyway, take action. And we're not talking about being reckless. What we're saying is identify where the risk actually lies, where you may have some knowledge gaps, where you may have some experience gaps, and surround yourself with the resources that can help you overcome those gaps. That is the best way to move forward and do so scared when you have people in your corner, people in your team that can help lift you up. Now, you were doing this while working full time as well, right? So
Right.
this was something where, you did 2 days on, a day off. You guys are balancing your schedule. You have some time, some flexibility to go out and start building this portfolio. I know you guys are twins. If you guys aren't watching the video, we got our brothers here together dressed in similar apparel here. Oddly enough, I'm oddly enough dressed in something very similar too. We all have on Henry.
All family, man.
We didn't call each other and do this, or maybe I want to get down with the Downing brothers. So with that said, how much of that was like just the connection with you all being brothers, right? And deciding, hey, let's work together going down this pathway? Or was one person really excited about doing this and you had to convince the other person to come on board?
I don't think we had to convince each other of anything.
No. But I would say, like, when he did a 203K renovation loan, FHA renovation loan, and sold it like 3 years later, had this big check, $77,000.
Yeah, because he always gets that number.
But it was like, okay, you want to use that $77,000 to go start just going crazy flipping? All right, let's do that, because I will present you with $5,000 and we can go do this together.
And honestly, it wasn't the money that made me say, hey, we need to work together. It was the fact that when we were going through the process of doing that renovation, that which was the first like gut rehab, when I was at the firehouse for 24 hours, I couldn't be on site. There was a 24 hours of, the contractors are there without me. And I said, hey, can you go by there and see, did they do what they said they were going to do?
On that project, I never announced that I wasn't Anthony. So they thinking to themselves, like, this dude is showing up every day. Right.
And they don't know, there's no relationship there, right? So they don't know whatever. So one of us is always there, right? And
with a different haircut every other day too.
Right. and I think that's one of the components of the partnership is physically being available, financially being available, mentally. Like, because we have to coach each other up and inspire each other. Like, when things aren't going right and we're pissed off and like, okay, let's calm down. How are we going to communicate with the contractor so that we don't? Because if you talk out of pocket to somebody, they may leave the job and not finish the plumbing or whatever it is they're working on. So we got to talk to each other and coach each other up on, okay, this is how we're going to approach these guys to get them to do what we want them to do.
Right.
And so it's always helpful to have that other person, another set of eyes, another perspective to get us through the project.
I want to talk about that a little bit more, right? Because managing contractors, especially on those early projects, is probably one of the most challenging things for a newer investor. Whether you are doing a flip project or something that just requires a little bit more work. If you come from a professional background where, you sit in an office or in a room where you talk about something and it's pretty much agreed upon that, hey, if we said something in a room, it was agreed upon, you go do it. That's not really the way it works with contractors. So for working with contractors that first time, you talked about some of the frustrations. Can you just give us maybe some tips to help, get better or manage that relationship with contractors so you actually can see success as opposed to having those challenges?
You got something to say on that. Come on.
I'm ready. I want to say this right away. Somebody's first flip, I think it needs to be, I say flip loosely, a 2 or 3K renovation loan. Because when you go FHA and you have a 2 or 3K consultant that is representing, for the most part, representing the bank, that means that your general contractor has to do the first phase with their own money. Then there's the first draw, there's a second draw, and only on the third draw, I'm talking about on a single family home, on the final draw, that's when they make their profit. And so they have to do what they're supposed to do because the bank is just not going to give them the money. They're not giving us the money. They give us a check to give to him after the 2 or 3K consultant says, the work was done. And this is a good way to learn how to do a renovation. And then on each individual one after that, whether you use hard money or you use cash out of your bank account, use the same principles. They need to, your contractors should be doing the first phase with their own money.
Yeah, it may not be to the extent of a 203K, but if they don't have any money, let's say, to do the demo without you cutting a check, that means that might be the first red flag, that they don't have the manpower, they don't have the money. Mm-hmm. And if they're cash strapped, that means they're robbing Peter to pay Paul. And for that matter, that means they may be taking your money to go complete a different deal that was prior to your deal. So you have to see, can they get through the simple thing, a demo? And some demos are smaller than others. I mean, a demo could be $2,500, or it could be $10,000, or it could be even more, depending on the size of the project. But do they have their own money? Because some of these things, just through conversation, you can get the sense of whether they have the resources to complete your project. Now, my brother, he was talking about the safe route. For those who are beginning and they own no property, if you want to do a renovation and get experience at managing a project, a 203K renovation loan is perfect for that. Now, once you get to the second project, okay, you don't have the 203K. You don't have the shield and protections of a 203K consultant. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that. One of the things that we learned on the fire department as EMTs is that if it's not in writing, it didn't happen. Meaning that if you didn't document in writing and sign and have a signature to it, you can't hold anyone accountable to what needs to be done. So that means that your scope of work, your contract between you and your contractor, is of the utmost importance before you allow them to enter that property to start work. Because what you're going to find out is that it's a lot of smiling and hee-hawing and feel goods at the beginning before the project starts, but you may be a month into it and then they didn't do something that you want them to do. They didn't clean up properly, or they didn't
room swept condition.
Yeah,
it needs to be in the contract.
Something as simple as that, right? That's at the end of the project. You want it to be cleaned up, and they leave it all trashed, but they want you to give them that final check. Now, the question that they're going to put to you is that in the contract that I have to do that? Because for you may have some expectation that that's just industry standard for them to leave the property cleaned up and trash taken to the alley or whatever. And then they're going to hold you accountable to what's in the contract.
Your GC, let's say you're not a general contractor in your own property. You have a GC who's bringing in all the subcontractors. The contract needs to say that when the plumber is, laying pipe or tearing open the wall, that needs to be broom swept condition when they leave. The framers, when they're framing and they leave and they're never coming back again, broom swept condition. Stuff like this seems like, it's going to be dirty it doesn't have to be dirty the whole time.
Yeah. Now, we put a lot of focus on being cleaned up because of pet peeve of ours. But this could come to the type of tile that they use, or whether you specifically ask for copper pipes to be run from the basement all the way to the top floor. Whatever it is, everything needs to be put in writing. And you have to ask yourself before you get angry or before you go back and say something wasn't done the way you expected it to, is it in writing? Because that's going to be the very first thing that contract is going to go to. And it's going to piss you off because you think, oh, this isn't right.
I feel the energy right now.
Right. And it's not about whether it's right. It's about whether it's in writing.
Yeah, listen.
Rewind that, everybody. Go back and hear what I just said.
Listen, that point right there is very poignant, powerful, and relatable. I mean, first of all, you said from your experience as an EMT, if it's not in writing, it didn't happen. I think you have to just really understand and process that. A lot of times we make, gentlemen's agreements, handshake agreements. We have a conversation. I go back to what we said about being in corporate America or professionals, especially if you are someone who has a W-2 job and hey, you have a meeting with someone, they agree that you're going to have something done by next Friday. Everybody nods their head, you leave, and you got to get done by next Friday. It's not how it works for contractors. Even though y'all had a conversation and he said it was going to be done by next Friday, if you didn't document this somewhere, when next Friday comes, he's not done. He's just going to shrug his shoulders. So you have to make sure that you put all this stuff in writing. And I think the other thing that a lot of folks don't know, to illustrate the point you were making, is if you are a newer rehabber or newer investor, you may not know what to put in there, right? Because now you're on this double-edged sword, right? Where you want to have it in writing, but what if you don't know what all needs to go in there? And now, because you've pushed the contract, you've left out some valuable things. I'll give you a couple things from like one of my earlier projects.
Okay.
Something as simple as installing the hardware on cabinets, wasn't in our scope of work, but in my head, you put up the cabinets. I assumed you're going to put the door handles on the cabinets too.
Right.
Nope.
We ran into that too.
Wasn't in there. So there are things that I think most investors would assume are going to be included when you get that work, but simply aren't. How do you manage that, and how do you learn and kind of adjust your processes to account for maybe the unknown? Like you mentioned, the pipe run up to. So many investors probably aren't sophisticated enough to know, hey, make sure the copper pipes run all the way up. They're like, dude, you're gonna put in new plumbing, right? So how do you wrap your head around that to make sure you're actually protecting yourself?
All right. Some things in this day and age you can find on YouTube or you can Google, like the steps to doing plumbing or the steps to doing electrical and renovation. These, you can find the information just about anywhere. And the other thing too is I would hope that you're not operating in a bubble where you haven't gone out to meetups or to programs where you can actually talk to people like us, right? Like you, like us, to ask questions about the ins and outs and what things to look for. Or hopefully people are listening to this podcast like this, to pick these things up and take notes. And also, I think if you're not someone who's a meticulous note taker, because that definitely isn't us or wasn't us. Right. But you have to start taking notes on all the little things to look out for, and then ask yourself, did you write all those things down? And some of these things are just experience too. Don't get mad that you took some lumps along the way, because I don't haven't met anybody in this game. We did not do well on our first 3-family apartment building. Yeah, we didn't. We got out of there with this. Like skin in our teeth. Just got out of it.
Right.
But I swear we've referenced that particular project on everything we've done since. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like we really talk about that project all the time. As because you touch the stove and you never want to get burn again. And but you take notes, and if you don't understand something, you do the research, you listen to the podcast, you read the articles, you take the notes, and try to show up to Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever it is in your part of the country. Mm-hmm. Show up with your contractor. Don't let them just go off and buy all the materials. Y'all be there together. And because a lot of times the people that are putting all the pipes or fittings or whatever onto into your cart or onto the desk or whatever, as soon as your contractor turn the corner and be like, you sure you want to use this? I use copper on everything. Yeah. So, I would look at every renovation as a master class. Mm-hmm. And if you went to college, look at it as, you're working on your degree. You should not just hand over the keys. Like you should be at to me, my personal opinion, be at the site every day asking questions. Mm-hmm. The plumber is doing something. Ask them what they're doing. What size is that pipe? Why are they doing it that way? And do it in a very curious student voice. Let them teach you. You know what I'm saying? Don't do it in a way where you're a taskmaster and you're annoying them. Do it out of a genuine, I didn't know how that works. I want to learn type of way. And because you should be. At the end of all of this, if you don't know the right way to do something or the wrong way to do something, you won't be able to, in future projects, to identify what's being done right or wrong. Right. So you should be there asking questions of all of your subcontractors, the HVAC, when he's going up there, that's a condenser, or this right here is is running the electrical, or and let them explain everything to you. You should want to know.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think even the basic level of knowledge is going to help you tremendously, especially if you're looking for, future vendors, future contractors, subs, things like that. You don't have to be the master expert, but if you know how to talk the language and you know how
Yes.
to look for the right things, they're going to respect you and they're not going to test you. And part of that is just holding everybody accountable. But if you get somebody and they know you have no clue what you're doing or what you're talking about, they're going to quote you high numbers, long lead times,
Yep.
and things like that. They're going to try to manage it to the best they can. So you want to certainly show up and be as informed as you can. I think that presence is important as well. Showing up on your job site, making sure that they know, hey, this guy could pop up at any moment. So we need to do what we say we're going to do. This is just a field where you need to hold people accountable, and it's on you to do that. You can't just take people at their word. You have to back it up with your actions as well as having all the right documentation as well. Hey, real quick tip. I want to know, we've talked about contractors, and I get this question all the time, like, how do you find good contractors? Like, we actually wrote an article with secrets to find good contractors. I'm curious to hear your tips, though. What's a secret or tip that you use to help you find and vet good contractors?
All right. One of the things that that happened to us, especially in the last couple of years, is we started getting invited to open houses.
Mhm.
And every time we go to an open house and we see excellent work, we say, oh, who are the contractors? Who did this? Because if you walk in and you're blown away by the quality of the work, then that's someone you should be working with. You shouldn't just simply know who the realtor is or the
Right.
broker is. That's not even important. What's important is who actually laid this tile and put this cabinet up.
Yeah, oftentimes I find that if I meet a contractor at Home Depot, you're working on something right now, let me come by there. What's the address?
What's the
Let me
address?
come by there and see your work.
Yes, make time for this. If you're really about this life, you're going to make the time and be spontaneous with your time to go look at someone do their work right now, because they owe you nothing. And they look at you as a prospective employer, right?
Mhm.
They can make money working with you. They're going to invite you and to see what they're doing. And every time you're building your experience up because you're seeing things that are done the right way. You know the difference between low quality and high quality. You know the difference between when you walk on a site and you see there's only two guys there, and then at the very beginning of the project, and you're like, wow, they don't have any manpower. Like, are they going to take 2 years to finish this project?
There's somebody. You hear that?
Yeah, they're working. Yeah, they're working over
They're
there.
renovating the building right next to us.
Yeah, so but you know the difference when you work on when you come on a site and you see 4 carpenters framing out versus seeing one guy. I'm like, one guy's about to do all of this, So
It felt good. Like when all right, so we did a renovation for Cook County Land Bank, and Cook County Land Bank is probably the best land bank in the whole country. It's like well financed, directly financed by the county, that type of thing.
Right.
So it was a home giveaway, and we were the celebrity contractors that would do the work. So on day one, when we're doing the demolition, there was 8 guys there. 8. That demo was done in one day for a single family home, 2,000 square feet, ranch. Came in, demo from front to back. You come in, front room, there's a bathroom. The 3 bedrooms are all on the right. You got on the left, you got the living room, bathroom, kitchen, and then you go downstairs to the basement. Mm-hmm. There was a bar down there. They brought in a huge, trash container, and that thing was completely filled in 8 hours. Right? We didn't have to lift a finger.
And we generally do some demolition. We showed up ready to do demo, but we didn't show up until 9:30 a.m.
Man, they had been there 3 hours.
They were already there for 3 hours. And so that's when you know you have a great crew. They show up early, work extremely hard, and do twice as much as you're accustomed to. Or even not twice as much. They do what you expect them to. Because that is sometimes rare in this field.
Right.
Man, I think that right there is powerful. Listen, if you did not catch that tip, you need to rewind it back. If you are looking to find a great contractor, they just gave a powerful, powerful tip to find them. First and foremost, you definitely want to find people and see their work in action. So if you're at a Home Depot or someplace like that, if you can go to that project and you can basically interview this person on site, right? And it's not even going to feel like an interview, but you're there on site. You start asking questions. Hey, when did y'all start this project? How long is it supposed to take? What's the budget? Are y'all on track or not? Like now you get a sense of, hey, how are they actually managing? Who else is there? Is it him and one other person? Is it 10 people working at one time? But now you get a really good sense of this person's capabilities. You mentioned going to the open house and seeing the quality of the work, see the finished product, ask who did it, reverse engineer that. Because a realtor is going to know who does great work because a great project is going to make it easy for them to sell.
Right.
If they have a product where, the finishes are a little bit off and, the connections, they just didn't crown everything right, then they're going to have complaints there. But when they see quality work, it's going to make their job easier. So talking to realtors, going to open houses, they're going to know, okay, who did this work, who did this project, because they did a really good job. So really excellent tips there about how to manage it. And then just going back to the contractors, you talked about the red flags, whether or not they are properly capitalized to do the demo themselves, or if they need a check up front to even get started. Now, I understand the deposit just to make sure that they don't get screwed over, but if they can't front some of those costs, that is a huge red flag. Or if they only have one person doing the demo, then that's another red flag.
Yeah,
So,
days is that going to take? Right.
Yeah. You guys said something though, about being celebrity contractors. So I want to fast forward a little bit and talk about what you guys are up to today. You guys have done a lot of cool things, man, building your brand. The Downing brothers is actually, starting to grow in popularity. You guys have done the TV show. You got a book, an illustration book. Tell me more about, where you guys are at today and the brand of the Downing brothers.
Man, we've made it to a point where we just are creative. We are constantly we ask ourselves, do we really want to be in control of our own narrative? And if so, what can we create to make that happen?
Look, it did not happen overnight. We did not have a Downing Brothers Instagram page at any point during the filming of that pilot.
Yeah. So the thing is, we didn't anticipate ever being on TV. Right. We were just a couple firefighters who were doing some, buying some apartment buildings for residual income, doing a flip just to get some capital up. Right. Just average, everyday Joe type stuff. We had no website, no Instagram,
no book,
no podcast,
right?
No logo, nothing. We had nothing, and then we were like waiting to hear about us going to series with HGTV, and we're like, man, while we're waiting, man, let's create all the rest of this stuff for ourselves, because if it doesn't work out there, it can work out somewhere else. But if we don't have our own platform, who's ever going to hear about us? Who's going to know that we exist? And so then, and on top of that, we were handed a gift. Not everyone gets to be on HGTV. We actually made history because we were the first two African men.
Yeah.
2 men to host a show. 2 black men to host a show on HGTV ever. And we kind of took it for granted because it kind of just came out of left field and happened so quick. But then I was laying in bed one night and I was like, man, what can we do that would allow us to control our narrative? And that was starting a podcast and inviting guests on that podcast. And guess what happens when you invite guests? Like how we're connected with you now. Now we have a relationship with someone we otherwise would not have had a reason to talk to or get access to. And then we started having cool people that are very successful in their own right in the things that they do. And that's opened up doors. And then we started getting invited for paid appearances at places because of these things. And now here we are now as we're quote unquote free agents, as they say in Hollywood. And now we have 3 opportunities that we're going through with 3 different networks that we're trying to navigate and figure out what's going to be the best fit for us. Right. So it's been amazing. Now I want to talk about the book real quick. The book, let's see, I got it right here.
Good. It's in hand's reach.
This book right here, The Downing Brothers, is a family oriented book. It's a visual strategy guide for real estate, and we made it into a cartoon because we wanted people of all ages to gravitate towards it.
Man, we collected comic books when we were growing up too, so there's that.
Yeah, it's that part too. And it allowed us to tell our origin story.
Right, because every superhero has an origin story.
Right? And so we have our origin story, so people really, just like this podcast, get to learn how we made it to this point, from childhood all the way to this point. But then we actually went through the entire process in the book, step by step, step 1, step 2,
of every real estate professional that you would come in contact with, from the lender on down, to your general contractor,
and property management, and then selling that property and walking away with a tax-free check. Because a lot of people don't know your primary residence, when you sell it after 24 months, that you get to walk away with a tax-free check when it comes to the profit from that transaction.
All your coins. And then
now you're able to leverage that into another situation. Because if you got a check for $70, $80, $100,000, now you can use that capital. You can go 3.5% down on an FHA loan, buy another single family home closer to the school for the kids, closer to your job, whatever it is. But now, let's say of $100,000, you spent $20,000 on a down payment for a single family home. You've got $80,000 to now to leverage, to either flip a house or buy a multi-unit apartment building for cash flow,
or what we did with Chris Senegal down in Houston, we invested in his real estate fund.
Right. So there's different ways to invest that money, but it all starts today. What decision are you making today that is going to provide you with all these choices in the future?
And I love the way you guys just snowballed your success, right? I mean, you talked about getting started with the flip, doing some smaller multifamily, really building that up, getting the show, which, I want to come back to that. But then from there, now you have just opportunities opening up, your network continue to open up, just a lot of different options in front of you as you continue to grow, not just your real estate portfolio, but grow the Downing Brothers brand. Going back to, that pilot for HGTV, that show that you guys created, walk me through before I say that, the book. Thank you for penning that book. We'll make sure we put a link to that as well, because I think it's great to see how you tell that story and how you, educate people and do it in a way where it can have broader appeal to a younger generation and for parents and families and folks like that. Going to the TV show, for someone who maybe they're not thinking about TV, right? I know you guys didn't wake up saying, hey, we need to get our own TV show. So
Right.
Very few people in real estate are focused on building a brand, getting on TV, things like that. With that said, sometimes opportunities present themselves. What was your mindset when you got presented with the opportunity? And walk me through the impact it has had on you once you decided to move forward with it.
At first we thought it was a joke.
Yeah, like one of our guys, and this is the crazy part about being grown versus being in college. In college, we pledged iota phi theta, da da da. Our friend, Troy, he's an alpha. He hits us up one day saying, yeah, I want to bring this director by your project you're working on so he can use your basement as a dungeon. You didn't finish the basement yet, did you? It was like, all right, yeah, come on over. He comes over with the guy. He looks around a little bit, but as they were leaving, he turns around and says, have you all ever thought about being on HGTV? No. But he was like, one of my frat brothers, he's looking, for 2 African-American men to be on HGTV. Can I put him on speakerphone? He put him on speakerphone right in there. He didn't give us a chance to try to get out of it or look at it like that's for somebody else.
Yeah, and we got on speakerphone, kind of almost did like a interview on the spot. He asked us to send him an email with some of our bio and some pictures. A couple of days later, they showed up with cameras.
Yeah, he brought a little white girl with a 4K camera.
Yeah, and they took us through what they call a sizzle reel. Yeah. And then it took a while. It took almost 9 months to get through this entire process before we actually started filming the show with HGTV. And from the point that we went on TV, we went viral on Facebook and Instagram and all these.
Watch the Yard.
Yeah, and then we got interviewed by every TV station. I'm talking like, we were on Windy City Live, and if you're in Chicago, Windy City Live is a popular show, morning show. ABC, and WGN and ABC and CBS and every magazine you can think of, all that kind of stuff. And it was kind of like it was like whoa, like it was so much happening. And then one thing that we started to notice is that we started getting invited to anything and everything real estate in this city. Every organization that had anything to do with real estate, they wanted us to come out. They wanted us to put our face on it and as a co-host to get more people to attend, right, or whatever it was. And we said yes to everything. We said yes to just about everything. If we were available, we went, because we quickly found out that your net worth is determined by your network. And so we started to be networked with people who had far longer money than us, right, and also had access to powerful people. And they were making us aware of things we weren't aware of. We didn't know anything about commercial real estate.
You don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know.
So we had those conversations.
And they would just assume that we knew and said, well, you guys should think about this and you should think about that. And have you ever considered this? And why don't you come to this meeting with me? Or here, we got a conference call. And then we just started learning. And that opportunity just like I said, it just opened up the whole world to us, and we were like, wow, we were ants in this big real estate world.
Yeah, I love the fact that one, you guys are open and honest about where you were in your journey and just how you got exposed to so many things, because you only have your experiences and you don't know what you don't know. And the fact that you were willing to go and say, yeah, we'll do these things for sure. I'll show up. And because for you, it wasn't about, hey, y'all need to pay me to show up, or, hey, no, I'm not going to do that. It was really about growth. It was about learning. It was about continuing to get better, continuing to understand what the opportunities were. And that you're networking with people who are of high caliber, high quality, and ultimately from all of that networking, you're going to be able to build relationships that can help you guys get to even another level, right? And continue to progress, move forward.
It already happened.
Now, I'm going to tell you, we were invited to like a real estate expo at a field house at a public park district, and it happened to be directly across the street from our grandmother's house. So we were like, oh, we're going to do this for free? Well, it's across the street from our grandmother's house. We get to go visit her real quick.
And it's for the community. It's for where we grew up, for the people, that we grew up with.
What we didn't know was that Cook County Land Bank had planned on speaking to us there and never reached out to us through email or phone call. They never reached out to us, but they were there waiting for us.
Yeah, along with 500 people that were there lined up before the doors even opened. But those people just there to take pictures with us.
Right.
This thing right here, we want you all to be the ones to renovate this property. In fact, here's a list of properties, and you go find which one that we already own, like the Cook County already owns, and then we'll let y'all renovate it and give you and pay you to do it. And I was like, what? Moral.
Hold on. I gotta just capture that. So everybody who's struggling to find a good deal in this market, I want to just play back what he said. He has someone who says, hey, we already own these houses. We want to give them to you, and we will pay you to renovate them and make your money on it. Now, if that doesn't demonstrate the power of building a brand, I don't know what else will. That's powerful right there.
And I think another thing that shouldn't be lost on people in this story is that you have to be of service. Mm-hmm. Being of service to a community, especially one you came from, it will lead you to opportunities where you can actually make money. But you have to ask yourself, am I helping people? Because people want to see you be joyful in your giving. They want to see you be joyful in your connection to something, to the greater good. And I think that joy then makes people who control the levers to power are like, oh, those are the guys that I want to work with. Those are good people. They're hardworking people, and they care about the community. And is that part? If you're building a brand, your brand has to speak that you actually are of service, that you're not 100% about just making a profit, that you do care about where you're doing your work, no matter what that work is that you're doing.
Yeah, I think that's a great point there. Just understanding when we talk about building a brand is what other people think about you. So when you are of service, people are going to see you in that light, and they're going to create opportunities based on that. Any final questions? We're going to get into our bullseye round in a second here, but Anton, it sounds like you're about to say something.
No, not really. No, that's cool.
Okay. All right, let's move on to our bullseye round. You guys ready?
Let's go.
All right, you guys figure out how you want to answer these questions, whether you want to tag team them or pass them off. But the first one, give me a failure or an apparent failure that set you up for later success.
I feel like we named that one.
Okay, which failure? How about that?
Right.
Shortcuts. We tried to take a shortcut on a porch.
I knew you was gonna tell you about the porch. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's for the rest of my life. I always think about the fact that we took a shortcut from a carpenter who we didn't ask questions of.
We never asked him if this is his expertise.
Is this your expertise? Is this what you do? Because someone who can frame out a really great bathroom, kitchen, whatever, can't necessarily do a porch, a huge 3-story exterior porch, right?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, a red flag, if someone says, if a professional that's all that they do, tells you they can do it for half the price, I'm saying if they say they can do it for $15,000 because that's their expertise, but then another guy comes along and says, I can do that porch for you for $7,500. You have to ask yourself, what are you about to lose out on? Why are they able to do something that someone who concentrates in that field won't do for you?
Just know, man, when your flesh rises up and you say, $7,500, that's nothing, you're probably messing up.
Yeah, I think what we learned from that is greed and speed, right? We got greedy and we wanted something done speedy. And if you're greedy and you're speedy, you're probably going to fail. And then you end up going to spend the same amount of time anyway and the same amount of money, but you're going to end up frustrated and embarrassed. Not even embarrassed in public. You're embarrassed when you're home alone thinking about what you did. You're looking in the mirror. You're embarrassed of yourself.
Because we failed the city inspection 3 times because he didn't use enough bolts on the floor standing,
I mean, you get into the weeds. He didn't do it right. How about that?
Yeah, but I'm just thinking about that on that one. Then the second time we failed the inspection, it was because the railing that goes, the spirals up to the 3rd floor, every third one, he left enough space that an infant could crawl under it. And the city says that cannot be more than 14 inches, from the bottom of the railing to the stair. So we ended up having every third one, we had to undrill ourselves and get longer ones and put them all the way to the 3rd floor ourselves.
Yeah.
To pass the inspection.
So at the end of the day, if you want to avoid a long story like the one he just told, don't be greedy and don't be speedy. Don't take shortcuts. Do it the right way.
Love it.
With an expert.
All right. Let's move on to something a little bit more positive, I guess, more happy memory. All right. Give me a digital or mobile resource you recommend for your business.
Digital or mobile resource. What
about the security system we use that went straight to our phone?
Okay. I mean, you free.
Yeah. All right. So in certain neighborhoods, you got to use a security system or somebody's just going to break the back door and start stealing your piping out from the basement. So we put a security system in, and
I can't think of the name of it.
I can't think of the name of it right now. But we used it a few times.
Yeah, I'll just put it this way. a mobile security system that at the end of the project you can take out and then take it to the next project and use again. Yeah. I think that is cost saving, because you can reuse it over and over again. You may spend $1,000 in the beginning, but for all the hardware and so on and so forth, but to be able to take all of that with you and take it to the next place, because a guy broke into our property. The alarm went off. I get the cell phone notification. I called my father, who was closer to that property. We got there, and because the alarm went off, they broke the door, but they ended up leaving, and didn't take anything. So that worked. And I think another thing too, and this is not digital, we spray paint all of our copper piping. If you're in a neighborhood where you know that that people do break-ins just so that they can get the copper in your property, have the security system. But the second thing is spray paint all of your copper. I'm going to rain on your parade, because that spray painted copper is not going to go over well when you go to the scrap yard.
There you go. Love that. That's a good tip there. All right. Give me the book you've recommended or gifted the most in the last year.
My own book.
All right. Outside of your own book.
Let's see. I would say Landlording on Autopilot. And who's that by? I'm trying to think of the name right now. But Landlording on Autopilot is the name of the book.
That works.
Name as soon as we're done with this podcast.
It's all good. We'll drop it in the show notes. It's all good. All right. Give me a daily habit that helps you stay focused on your goals.
Meditation. I get really quiet when I first wake up in the morning, and I try to be as silent and as relaxed as possible, so that I don't start off stressed out. And then once I come out of my silence, once I come out of my quiet place, then I think about everything that is on my schedule, and did I add everything to my calendar to make sure that I take care of all my responsibilities for the day, that I follow up with every phone call, text message, Zoom meeting, whatever it is. So some of you are listening, you're investing by yourself, you don't have a team or whatnot. But personally for me, because I do almost everything with my twin brother, I will call or text and say, this is what I have on my schedule for today and tomorrow. Is it the same as yours? Or did I miss something right there? Because sometimes I do miss putting things in my calendar. Yeah. But I think, I think starting off the day and being very thoughtful and quiet and really thinking about what needs to be done, and being peaceful and relaxed. And then from there, and having a balanced diet, eating well so that you feel energetic as opposed to being sluggish, exercising on a regular basis. Sometimes just going for a walk, knocking out some push-ups before getting in the shower, just different things so that you're healthy. Like, your health is the number one thing. Mentally, are you at peace? And physically, are you doing something that enables you to live a longer life?
All right. Now, you both are in Chicago. We've talked about, growing up and a lot of trips to the Bahamas as well. But let's stick to Chicago for this one. Give me the best place to grab a bite to eat.
Ooh. Man, if we talk about carry out, Harold's Chicken, right on 87.
Spoken like a true Southside Chicago guy.
Okay. 4-piece hot and mild. You know what I'm saying? Salt pepper.
All right, listen, you guys, always a lot of fun talking to you. I'm excited to watch just what's next. You guys are obviously just scratching the surface of the brand that you're building. I'm excited to talk to you now and to watch, what unfolds over the next year or two for what you have cooking here. But you gave some great tips, particularly on getting started, understanding that mistakes will be made, but surround yourself with other people, educate yourself, read books, go to events, listen to podcasts, get the resources that you need from Google, YouTube, and other folks in your network to make sure that you're not making the big mistakes, right? Make sure that you are finding the right contractors, that you're holding them accountable, that you're able to vet them, that you're able to create a great scope of work that protects you with the deal. And then ultimately making sure that you can scale and do so in a way with service in mind. And if you have service in your heart, you are now building a brand, you're building a reputation where other opportunities are going to come to you organically. And that's kind of what happened with you guys. You let somebody come film your basement. That ended up turning into a phone call. And next thing you know, you've got a pilot, and here you are, evaluating multiple opportunities to continue to build your brand on television. You've got your book and so many other things. For folks who want to learn more about you guys, check out the book, just really understand how they can follow you and follow your progress. What's the best way to reach out or to follow your actions?
I was going to say, first of all, we need you to come on our podcast too. Homecoming with the Downing brothers.
Right. But you want to just go to thedowningbrothers.com, TheDowning brothers.com, and you'll find everything about us there. You can also find us on Instagram, The Downing Brothers.
Absolutely. So we'll make sure we link to all that in the show notes. Listen, guys, great talking to you. Really appreciate all the great information you shared on this episode, and we'll be in touch soon. Have a great day, okay?
All right.